Let the room be quiet enough to hear the softest sounds. A fan turning, a window breathing, the hush that lives between the trees. You can loosen your shoulders now. Let your jaw unclench. Let your eyes grow heavy, the way pine needles gather dew. Tonight is not a race. There is no test to pass. Only a slow walk through a small town that feels like a lantern someone forgot to blow out. Some places are loud about their magic. Gravity Falls is gentle. It keeps its voice low, and if you listen, it tells you everything. Imagine a map. Not the kind that folds with hard creases, but the kind that lives in your head after midnight. At the center of that map is a valley, a few rooftops, a wooden sign, a river that curls like a cat around the edge of a forest. If you step closer, you can smell the resin from the pines. The air is cool and clean. Sometimes, if the night is right, the fog here arrives with a slight blueberry tint, as if the sky decided to sweeten itself. People in town call it the blue hour. No alarms, no warnings, just a soft color change that makes streetlights look like stars that came a little too close. Let yourself walk that main street now. A diner with a light above the door that never gives up. A post office that sorts letters addressed to whoever needs this most. A library that breathes when you are not looking. Nothing is scary here. Everything is slow, kind, and meant to be discovered like a page you saved with the corner turned down. You are safe. You are welcome. And as you breathe in and breathe out, the town breathes with you. The pines sway. The river hums. The windows glow like friendly eyes. In a moment, we will begin at the beginning. Every place has one. For Gravity Falls, the beginning is part folk song, part weather report, and part family story told around a table where the chairs never quite match. If you are ready, we can turn the first page together. It makes the soft sound of paper that has been carried in a backpack for one summer too long. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the lantern of the mind swing gently and follow the pool of light cast on the ground ahead. Good. We are ready. Every town starts with a decision. Sometimes that decision is loud. Sometimes it is as quiet as two people pointing at a valley and nodding at the same time. Long before the sign at the edge of town had letters on it, the valley was already practicing the art of being unusual. The rain would arrive in neat, polite squares. The wind would come from 3 directions at once, then apologize by leaving a perfect stillness. Birds would land on the same fence post every evening as if they were clock hands stopping at a minute. Only they understood. The first wanderers did not have a plan. They had good boots, blank pages, and the kind of hope that fits in a pocket. They followed the river until it seemed to be following them back. They traced the ridge line with their fingers and found that their fingerprints matched the grain in the old trees. They made a camp, but the camp felt like a conversation. "What shall we call this?" one asked. The other looked at the way the cliffs leaned like bookends. "The falls keep their own gravity," they said, half joking. The name stuck to the air like fog and decided to stay. Word spread the way it always does in stories about places that feel like second homes. Someone's cousin arrived with a mule and a box of kitchen things. Someone's aunt arrived with a blanket she had been stitching since she was 10. Someone's friend arrived with a violin that refused to play songs out of tune. They did not own much, but they owned the habit of noticing. That was enough. Mornings came with second twilights here. The sun would lift, then pause, then remember it had more to do, and climb the rest of the way, leaving a gentle double dawn behind. People learned to make tea during the pause. They learned to hang laundry in that in-between light because clothes dried softer then. A whole kind of kindness grew out of that extra moment. You could wave to a neighbor twice and mean it both times. When the first buildings went up, they were practical in shape and accidental in charm. A storefront with a porch large enough to keep promises on. A shed that became a workshop that became the place you went when something could almost be fixed. A school with a bell that liked to ring a little early so children would have time to collect their thoughts before they sat down. There were oddities, of course, but they were the kind that made life better. Bread rose higher on Wednesdays. Maps refused to show shortcuts unless you said please. The river hummed a low note on cold nights, which meant you could carry your boat to the water like a sleeping child and never wake it too soon. The first ledger of the town was not kept in a book. It was kept in the way people remembered each other. Who brought soup when the roof caved in under too much snow? Who painted little stars on lantern glass so the light would be warm and dotted? Who could read the weather by the tilt of the hills? An early settler named Eliza carried a field journal with a red ribbon for a bookmark. She wrote down the patterns that did not fit other patterns. Blue fog at dawn, tastes like distance. Birds counting to 4. Tree knot shaped like an eye, but kindly. She did not try to solve the town. She tried to keep it company. Another settler, Thomas, was quiet in the way a bridge is quiet. He listened. He set fence posts in a line that knew how to bend without breaking. He made a weather vane that preferred to point toward good news. When storms came, the storms understood they were expected to behave. Together, the first families learned to live with what the valley offered. They learned to leave small gifts for the woods. They learned the right time to go berry picking and the right time to let the bushes rest. They learned that some paths arrive before the feet that need them, and some paths wait until you take a breath and admit you are lost. By the time the town had a name painted over the road, it already had a memory. Some said there were older stories under the soil, traces of people who built in circles so the rain would always find a way out. Shadows of faces that showed up in puddles after storms, smiling that particular valley smile that means you found it. Good. As more people came, the rules of the town were written without ink. Do not shout at the fog, it is shy and goes away if you scare it. Do not stack stones for no reason. Stones here like to be helpful. If you stack them, they think you need a tower and will keep building until they are tired. Do not ignore the second twilight. Live it. Do not be unkind to stories. They remember. The falls themselves were not tall, but they were complete. Water folded over rock in a way that always looked like the first time. In the spring, when the river was excited, the mist stitched tiny rainbows along the bank. In the winter, when the river was older and slower, it wore a scarf of ice that crackled softly, as if it was telling a joke it had told before, but still loved. Some nights the stars lined up to look. They were not brighter here. They were closer in the way a held hand is close. The town slept, and the stars kept watch. If you woke and peeked out a window, you would see the same small promise every time. The valley will be here when you close your eyes again. That is how Gravity Falls was founded. Not with trumpets. With careful steps and a shared breath, and a feeling that the world had made a pocket just big enough to tuck this place inside. And when the first sign was raised on the road, it did what signs do in this valley. It pointed toward home. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the old boards of the porch creak once. We will turn the page. Every town has a family that becomes a little bit like a landmark. In Gravity Falls, that family is the Pines. The name itself feels like a door that opens on a hinge of laughter and old secrets. The story begins with two brothers in a summer that keeps echoing. Before the Mystery Shack had a sign, before the attic had a bunk with initials carved into the frame, there were just two boys who saw the world differently and loved each other anyway. One boy kept questions like marbles in his pocket. The other kept plans like folded maps in his jacket. They did not always agree on which road to take, but they were very good at walking side by side. Home was not fancy. It was a place where plates did not match, but everyone knew exactly which one made the soup taste right. It was a place where the light in the hallway was never harsh. It always felt like afternoon there. The brothers made inventions that nearly worked. They made promises that did work. They made mistakes that grew into lessons without shouting. On the good days, they built things together and kept a pencil behind each ear. On the hard days, they learned how to find each other again after quiet. Time carried them like a slow river. As boys do, they grew into men who tried to make their shapes match the world. One chased mysteries with notebooks and field kits. One chased survival with charm and stubbornness. They took different roads, and for a while the roads did not meet. When the road bent back toward the valley, one brother returned with an idea that was part joke, part roof, part stage. A tourist trap, he said, and the words were a shield, but also a kind of hope. If you build a place where people come to be surprised, perhaps you can be surprised into belonging too. Boards went up. Signs were painted. Objects that were unusual even by Gravity Falls standards found shelves to sit on. A jackalope posed like it was listening. A jar of something green and friendly sat where the sun could reach it. A vending machine stood a little too proud, as if it knew more. The Mystery Shack became what many good places become, the answer to questions you did not know you were asking. How do you make a living in a town that likes to keep its pockets full of secrets? You open your door and make a show of it, and you keep a corner of the room for the things that matter when no one is watching. There was a stool that always wobbled in the same direction. There was a cash register that was honest as long as you did not mind it telling the truth slowly. There was a photo on a wall where the eyes looked like they might move, but only to find the sun. The shack gathered people. A helper who could fix anything with patience and a snack. A teenager who leaned on a broom the way a bird leans on wind. A stream of tourists eager to be amazed at a safe speed. And then, one summer, two kids with backpacks and the kind of excitement that stays up late even when the body wants to sleep. Those kids carried the family name like a gentle bell. Dipper. Careful and brave in the way curiosity can be when it is loved. Mabel, bright and generous in the way joy can be when it is shared. They did not cure the town of its mysteries. They learned how to listen to them. They learned which doors to open and which to leave alone for now. They learned how to ask for help and how to give it. The man who ran the shack pretended to be all edges, but it was a costume. Under the hat and the stories and the careful misdirections was a heart that knew exactly how to keep a family together even when the instructions were smudged. He was the kind of person who would argue with a sign until it agreed to face the right way. He was the kind of person who stood in doorways when storms came and made the doorway bigger. The other brother, the one who made notebooks and spoke in careful lines, found his way back too. It took time. It took swallowing pride and untying knots that had been tied in the dark. When he returned, the town took a long, deep breath, the kind of breath you take when a room is finally full again. The Pine's legacy is not about being perfect. It is about showing up. It is about learning when to keep secrets and when to set them down. It is about the courage to say, "I need you," softly enough that the truth can answer back. And it is about a building with old wood and new hope, where breakfast plates clang and laughter bounces off the ceiling, and someone is always running down the stairs saying, "Wait, I have an idea." Their summer became part of the town's story, the way a melody becomes part of a lullaby. Everyone knows a bit of it. Everyone hums their favorite line. And if you walk past the shack at the right time of evening, you can still hear footsteps on the porch that sound like family. The pines outside are tall, but inside the name Pines means something else. It means a promise you keep even when you are tired. It means a light in the attic that stays on just long enough. It means the courage to look at a map and say, "New route," and the kindness to bring someone along. Breathe in. Breathe out. The house settles. We turn another page. Some mysteries arrive all at once. Others arrive the way fog rolls in through the trees, quiet and complete. In Gravity Falls, the journals were born of the second kind. Not a shout. A steady hand. A pencil that never quite dulled. Picture a desk near a window. Outside, green upon green, 1,000 textures of leaf and bark. Inside, a notebook with a cracked spine, a mug with the ring of a long afternoon around its lip, a lamp that decides to be kind and cast an even glow. Here, observations gathered themselves into sentences. Here, sketches learned to stand upright and explain what they were. The first page does not try to impress. It begins with the simple parts: location, weather, a note about the way birds pause before landing, as if they are listening for permission. Then a question, smaller than the rest, tucked like a pressed flower in the corner. What is the pattern that does not look like a pattern yet? Days turned into pages. Pages turned into volumes. The journals grew not because the valley was loud, but because it was precise. A plant that bloomed when a certain star rose. A rock that felt warm on days when clouds promised rain. A door in the woods that was more suggestion than wood, yet sometimes caught the wind and clicked. The author of these pages had the patience of a clockmaker and the heart of a traveler. Facts were gathered with care. Measurements were checked twice. But between the lines there was a tenderness too. Subject displays no aggression, a note might read. Then smaller. Seems lonely. Left a slice of apple on the stump. We'll check tomorrow. The journals are not spell books. They are lullabies for puzzles. They teach you how to sit with something you do not understand and love it anyway. They teach you that a cipher is a way of listening, that a code wheel is a way of turning your attention until it clicks. You can imagine the notebooks arranged like seasons. One for beginnings, one for middles, one for the kind of endings that are really doors standing open. Each has margins softened by thumbs. Each carries the ghost of graphite, the gray sheen of thought made visible. There are sketches along the edges. A moth whose wings mimic constellations. A footprint that looks like it is thinking. A fern whose coils are tiny question marks, uncurled by morning. Labels are neat, but never fussy. Arrows point with purpose. Sometimes, circling a detail, there is a small Between entries, the journals breathe. They leave space where a reader can rest. They do not lecture. They suggest. If you listen, you can hear the voice that made them, careful and hopeful at once. Something is here, it says. Let us learn its shape. There are pages for weather that does not repeat. A storm that walked upstream gently, as if returning a borrowed book. Snow that fell only in backyards where someone was baking. Morning light that made shadows of things that had not yet arrived, and by afternoon, those things were there, on time. There are pages for creatures that do not like to be called creatures. Neighbors, perhaps. A family of small, stubborn beings who reorganize your garden to improve airflow around the carrots. A large, sleepy presence in the hills that hums when the town is anxious, smoothing the air until it lays flat again. Notes say, do not name without consent. Do not chase. Offer kindness first. There are pages for places. A clearing where compasses prefer to be honest and point not to north, but to the story you need to find. A path that refuses to exist until you ask politely. A stone with a shallow bowl on top that catches moonlight the way a clean spoon catches honey. The journals also know when to be playful. They hide messages in acrostics for no reason other than the joy of discovery. They use little symbols to mark where a tea break is recommended or where you should bring a friend. Now and then there is a caution, but it is phrased like care, not fear. Step lightly here. The ground remembers. You might wonder why, in a town so kind, someone would need to take such careful notes. Because attention is another word for love. Because writing things down is how we say, you mattered to me in that moment, and I will not let the world forget. Because a map made of pages helps people find their way back to themselves. The journals traveled. They hid. They returned. They lived the way ideas live when they are both fragile and strong. Sometimes they were in a backpack, along with a flashlight and a sandwich and a pencil with teeth marks. Sometimes they were in a hand that was shaking a little, not from fear, but from the thrill of almost understanding. Sometimes they rested on the attic floor, while two kids lay on their stomachs and read, whispering, "Look at this, and did you see that, and we should try." There are entries that read like recipes, though they are not for food. How to coax a shy door to open. How to calm a wind that is in a hurry. How to listen for the heartbeat of the valley when the town is noisy. Ingredients: patience, kindness, a willingness to be surprised. There are entries that read like letters to the future. To the one who finds this page, you are not alone. To the one who thinks they broke it, breathe. The valley knows how to mend. To the one who wants to give up, make cocoa first, then decide. And there are entries with drawings that look like warnings, but really they are reminders. Reminders that power without care is just a loud sound. Reminders that a triangle is only sharp if you press too hard. Reminders that even the strangest night will turn back toward morning if you keep a light in the window. When the journals are closed, they are not asleep. They hum. They hold. They wait for the next pair of hands, the next curious mind, the next careful heart. They are part of the town now. They are the town, in a way. Ink and paper and the soft scratch of a pencil carrying whole summers on its tip. If you have never written a journal, Gravity Falls will teach you how without saying a word. It will show you a leaf with a pattern you cannot stop tracing. It will seat you on a log that fits your back as if it has been practicing. It will hand you the kind of quiet where thoughts arrive and do not run away. And if you have written in a journal, the valley will nod as if to say, yes, keep going. The pages turn slower now, the way they do when a story starts touching the part of you that sleeps with the window cracked. You can close your eyes if you want. The words will keep their shape. The town will keep your place. Breathe in. Breathe out. The lamp on the desk burns low, golden and patient. The window is a square of night filled with friendly trees. The journals are stacked, warm from being read. When you are ready, we will continue. There are rooms to tour and doors to open, and a shack that squeaks when it is happy. But for now, let the page rest against your fingers. Let your breathing be the metronome of the story. Let sleep come like a kind librarian with a blanket. We will be here when you wake. The mystery shack creaks the way a friendly house does. Not a warning, a greeting. The porch boards remember every pair of shoes, boots carrying boxes, sneakers skipping 2 steps at a time, quiet feet on tiptoe, late at night, carrying a question and a flashlight. Come in slowly. Let your eyes adjust. The light inside is warm the way old honey is warm. Jars on shelves catch it and soften it. Signs lean at comfortable angles. Glass domes hold objects that may or may not be what the labels say. There is a bell above the door. It rings with a little stutter, as if surprised to be needed again. Someone says welcome. Someone always does. Even on days when the weather is shy and the road is empty, the shack behaves as if a bus has just stopped outside and everyone is deciding if they have time for wonder. Walk past the ticket counter. Don't hurry. The floorboards have a rhythm, and it is better if you try to match it. On the right, a jackalope sits as still as a thought. You're almost ready to think. Its antlers are careful. Its glass eyes are patient. On the left, a display case holds a jar of something green that looks like it might blink if you looked away. It doesn't. The jar is content the way a cloud is content. It enjoys sunlight on wood and the slow drift of dust motes that cross like tiny ships. The walls are a scrapbook that learned to stand up. Posters layered over notices layered over photographs. A flyer for a long-ago pancake breakfast. A hand-drawn map with a question mark in the upper corner. A picture in a crooked frame where the people look like they might step out if you told a joke only they would understand. Listen. Somewhere in the building a radio is trying out a quiet song. Somewhere a fan is turning slow enough to be polite. Somewhere a kettle is deciding if it should sing. The shack is a stage, a shop, a shield, and a secret. It sells the idea that the world is stranger than it looks and safer than it sounds. It offers souvenirs for the eye and memories for the pocket. It keeps the rain off anyone who needs a few minutes to remember how to smile. There is a stool that wobbles left because it prefers that side. There is a register that rings even when nobody is paying, as if to remind the room to be cheerful. There are curtain cords that make tiny sighs when you walk by, the way curtains do in places that know how to tell stories. If you follow the tour path, you will find a hallway that insists on being longer than it should be. This is not a trick. The building is old. Old buildings learn to stretch to fit the people who need them. At the end of the hall, an exhibit shows a map with pins. Visitors place a pin where they came from. The map looks like a sky filled with small, steady stars. The towns on it have names that sound like footsteps. The oceans look like naps. But the shack has other paths too. The ordinary door that opens to a broom closet and the other door that opens to tomorrow's plan if you are careful and kind. The drink machine in the corner that hums like a tired animal. If you lean close, the hum is a note you almost recognize. If you press the right buttons in the right order and breathe in a way that shows you mean no harm, the machine becomes helpful and makes space. Down the hidden stairs lives the part of the shack that thinks about puzzles while pretending not to. The air changes. It smells like copper, paper, and the patient kind of electricity that lights a desk lamp and warms a pencil. Shelves down here hold the things that have not figured out what they are yet. They're waiting. They are in good company. There is a table with tools laid out in a neat line. A magnifying glass that likes to be held in the left hand. A stack of blank cards that looks like a promise. A small dish with a few screws and a marble that rolled in on its own and never left. If you listen long enough, you can hear the shack breathing with the town. In storm weather, it hums low and firm. In perfect sunlight, it clicks lightly as wood swells and settles. At night, when the last visitor is gone and the sign on the door turns to close, the building keeps a tiny lamp on somewhere because some places choose to be brave. People have tried to count the rooms. They never agree on a number. That is all right. The shack is not made to be counted the way boxes are counted. It is made to be counted the way memories are counted. By warmth. By the weight of laughter. By the way you walk out feeling a little more awake to the friendly parts of strange. When you leave, the bell thanks you. The porch boards answer. The door settles into its frame with a soft, proud sound. And if you look back, the windows will look like eyes that are not watching you go so much as making sure you know you can come back. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the path outside turn your feet toward the rest of town. We will go slowly. We have time. Main Street is a quilt of small choices. Shops with hand-painted signs. A bench that faces the sun in morning and the bakery in afternoon. Planters where the flowers lean toward whoever needs to see color. Start at the diner. Steam fogs the windows in hearts and commas. Inside, the air carries coffee, cinnamon, and good news told in a low voice. A server remembers how you take your tea after you say it once. On the wall, a clock is 2 minutes fast on purpose, so nobody misses the sunrise. Across the road, the library holds the quiet like a careful bird. Shelves stand in friendly rows. The books know how to wait for hands without growing sad. At midnight, if you listen from the sidewalk, you might hear a page turning itself. Not because it is haunted, because stories here like to stretch. The post office is open a little later than the sign says when the night feels kind. Letters arrive with addresses like, to the person who needs this today, to the house with the green mug, to the corner table where they always sit. Nobody is confused. The town understands. The hardware store carries nails, string, and the exact hinge to fix a door that sighs too much. It also carries the kind of conversation that fixes other things. Someone will show you how to sand, how to tighten, how to listen for the sound a good repair makes when it takes. Between shops, you find bulletin boards layered thick with days. Music lesson notes. A lost scarf drawing that looks suspiciously like a very happy snake. A flyer for stargazing behind the school at second twilight. A handwritten sign that reads, "Please return borrowed thermoses when you can," with a small heart in the corner that almost blushes. There is a little park where the swings know the names of the wind. A young tree wrapped in a ribbon from a wedding that spilled joy into the grass and never cleaned it up completely. A bench with a plaque that simply says, "Sit." On the far end of town, a laundry hums steady as a lullaby. Machines turn. Time folds. Conversations pause for the spin cycle, and resume with a new idea that arrived somewhere between rinse and rest. The people of Gravity Falls move at a pace that leaves room. Room to wave twice. Room to pick up a penny and place it on the windowsill where a child will see it in the morning and feel lucky. Room to stand still with a friend and watch the sky remember its colors in order. Festivals happen whether or not anyone remembers to call them festivals. An evening where everybody brings a pie and nobody keeps track of who ate which slice. A Saturday morning when the market spills fruit, bread, flowers, and exactly one stand that sells buttons shaped like moons. A Tuesday when the barber sets a chair on the sidewalk because hair likes sunlight too. The town has an edge, but it is not sharp. It fades into fields and fence lines, then eases into trees. The road out is a line that knows it might be needed and doesn't take it personally if you turn around. Night in Gravity Falls is not the end of anything. It is a change in voice. Street lamps soften. Porch lights practice patience. Windows hold small dramas, like a cat deciding which chair is best for sleeping. Above it all, the sky takes a long breath and becomes the ceiling of a room big enough for every thought to lie down. Walk past the radio station after dark. Through the glass, you can see a single lamp and a single microphone. A hand turns a dial. A voice says good evening into headphones that carry comfort from house to house, cabin to cabin, boat to shore. Song. Silent. Story. The simple braid the town likes best. When it rains, the sidewalks shine as if newly invented. Umbrellas bloom. Kids in boots invent rivers with sticks. The bakery's bell rings more often. Warmth moves out one door and into another, held carefully in paper bags. When it snows, the town chooses one speed slower and wears it well. Footprints show where kindness traveled. The diner window becomes a painting. Letters in the post office are a little puffier with hope. Snow people on lawns wear scarves that match nobody's coat because the town keeps a box labeled extra. In Gravity Falls, even the alleys have stories. A mural painted and repainted, each new layer leaving one small piece of the old. A cat that belongs to everyone and no one, with a bell that keeps time better than the clock on Main. A back door propped open with a brick that looks like a loaf of bread. If you sit on the steps of City Hall and watch long enough, you will see all the town go by. Someone carrying a plant. Someone carrying a promise. Someone carrying a tray of cups that clink like polite bells. You will hear names repeated kindly. You will hear laughter that bends around corners. You will hear the slow, steady pulse of a place that has learned how to take care. Breathe in. Breathe out. Let the sidewalks lead you to the road that tilts toward trees. We will follow it. The forest is waiting, and it knows our steps. At the edge of town, the pavement loosens its tie. Gravel takes over. Then dirt. Then a path that is not exactly a path until you step on it, and it decides to become one for you. The forest breathes. You can feel it in your shoulders when they drop without you telling them to. You can hear it in the quiet between bird calls, a low, content sound like a bass note, walked away from a song to sit under a tree and listen. Pines stand polite as lampposts. Branches hatch shade over moss the color of new ideas. The air smells like a page in a book that has been turned by careful hands for many years. Light falls in pieces, and every piece is a gentle yes. There are official trails, of course. They are marked with signs that have been painted and repainted in a steady hand. But there are other ways through. Foot-width tracks that appear when you need to find a lost thought. Deer paths that accept human feet the way a couch accepts a blanket. Clearings that arrive like a breath you didn't know you were holding. Walk softly, and the forest will show you things. A stump with coins pressed into it, left by travelers who like the sound of wishes saved in wood. A patch of ferns curled like commas waiting their turn. A tree knot, with a face that is definitely a face, but also definitely kind. You might see gnomes if you do not try too hard. They arrange sticks into diagrams. They argue in whispers, then nod together as if the whisper contained exactly the right amount of truth. They pretend not to notice you. Pretend not to notice them back. It keeps everyone's dignity intact. You might hear a heavy, gentle step far off, the sound of a big creature that means no harm and prefers not to be seen except by the part of you that still likes to believe in things without needing them to pose for a picture. If you feel the ground hum a little and your worries lighten without explanation, say thank you quietly. Kindness is a language trees understand. There is a stream that braids itself through the roots and rocks. If you follow it, you will find a bend where time slows to match water. Leaves drift, decide, and drift again. The surface makes a version of the sky that sometimes looks better than the original. Rocks here remember stories in lichen. Green spell names. Golds underline them. Touch the stone and it is cool, then warmer, then the exact temperature of your palm as if it had been waiting for you. Sometimes the forest plays small games. A squirrel appears on the left, then on the right, then in front as if reading a script out of order. A branch drops a pine cone at your feet because it thinks you might need to consider something around. A breeze selects one leaf and teaches it a dance nobody else knows. Take the path that rises gently. You will come to a lookout made for people who promise to sit quietly. The town below looks like a story you could hold between two fingers. The river is a ribbon tied to a gift you have already opened, but still love. The falls make a soft thread of white, a stitch holding valley to sky. Hidden paths crisscross like friendly thoughts. Some are lined with stones that look placed by accident. Some are marked by little flags of fungus, orange and tidy. Some are only a feeling in the ankles that says, turn here, and you do, and it is right. There is a place where compasses hesitate. They do not spin. They pause as if listening for your heart. Choose the direction that feels like an exhale. It is always the best way forward here. If you walk long enough, the forest offers a room. No walls. Just the exact shape of space you need to set down whatever you're carrying. Sit. Lean back. The ground is patient. The trees draw a circle around you with their shadows, and not to trap, but to protect. You can nap here and wake without the usual startle. You can dream about nothing and everything. You can listen to the way light learns the language of leaves. When you are ready, stand slowly. Brush off needles that clung the way friends do when they wish you could stay longer. Follow the thread of path back. It will bring you out exactly where your feet left town, only calmer. Breathe in. Breathe out. We will visit 2 more rooms now, and I'm the forest, but in the summer inside it. One is careful. One is bright. Both are brave. Dipper keeps maps in his mind and questions in his pockets. He does not rush. He simply thinks fast. There is a crease between his brows where ideas line up, wait their turn, and then leap. He arrived in Gravity Falls with a backpack that had seen a few buses and a pair of shoes that had stood in more doorways than most kids know by his age. He looked at the town the way a reader looks at a table of contents. Not impatient. Eager. Dipper's bravery is quiet. It looks like a hand reaching for a flashlight at the first hint of unknown. It sounds like breath drawn in and let out slow on purpose. It feels like the moment right after you decide to ask for help. He finds a journal. He does not know yet how many pages will use his fingerprints for bookmarks. He turns one and another. The world rearranges itself not into fear, but into patterns that invite him to notice. He tests. He measures. He writes in a neat hand. He makes little boxes where answers might live. He does not mind when some boxes stay empty longer than others. Waiting is part of the work. So is hope. Dipper listens to the town. He listens to adults trying to sound certain. He listens to friends trying not to sound scared. He listens to trees because trees never fake it. When he cannot hear a thing, he draws it. And sometimes that is the same as hearing. He is not alone. He does his best work when he remembers that. His sister's laugh pulls him out of loops. A friend's calm steadies his pencil. A mentor's sideways advice opens the floor where a trapdoor used to be. He makes mistakes. He apologizes. He tries again with a better question. He learns that being right is nice, but being kind is necessary. He learns that plans are only as good as the space they leave for surprises. Dipper walks paths most people do not see because most people do not look for them. He believes in what he can prove. He also believes in what he cannot yet prove but can feel with the part of him that lights up when the puzzle is bigger than the page. There is a knight on the roof with a blanket under his shoulders and the sky doing its slow work. He points out constellations with a pencil, not to show off, but because drawing in the air helps him think. He whispers theories to the quiet. The quiet nods. There is a day in the forest where he chooses trust. Not in a stranger. In his own read of a situation that wants to be complicated but might be simpler if viewed from one step to the left. He steps. It is better. Dipper keeps a list of what matters taped inside his skull. Ask. Check. Adjust. Protect. Repeat. He learns to set a line between caution and fear. Caution holds hands and looks both ways. Fear shouts and forgets to breathe. He chooses the first on purpose and forgives himself on the days he slips into the second. He writes in the margins of the journal like this. Note, bring extra batteries. Note, ask Mabel what she thinks. Note, if the answer is, we don't know yet, that is an answer. He guards his heart with curiosity, which turns out to be the kindest shield. Because a question invites conversation. Because a question gives the universe a chance to say yes, like this. If you could see the path of his summer from above, it would look like a pattern the forest drew because it enjoys geometry. Loops when he needed to return and learn again. Lines when he needed to go straight and not look down. Spirals when everything he knew needed to open wider. Dipper's courage is not a single event. It is a practice. It is waking up and choosing to try. It is going to sleep and choosing to trust that the work he did today will keep quietly glowing through the night. When he leaves, the town keeps a little of him. A better habit of listening. A clipboard found later with a checklist that reads, breathe, look, ask, be kind, eat, be kinder, breathe again. He will come back, because places like this write themselves into your bones. But even when he is away, the trees remember his footfall. The shack remembers his questions. The journals remember his steady hands. Breathe in, breathe out. One more room of summer to visit. It sparkles. It It sticks googly eyes on problems until they smile. It knits sweaters for the coldest thoughts and does not let them shiver. Mabel arrives like morning through a colorful window. She does not ask the town to change. She asks it to dance at its own pace, and it does. Her suitcase contains glitter, yarn, stickers, and a talent for seeing the best version of anything in under 3 seconds. Her sweaters are declarations. Not about fashion. About mood. About hope. About the right of a Wednesday to feel like a holiday if you give it a name. Mabel listens with her whole face. When you speak, her eyes widen the exact amount that reminds you your story is worth telling. She makes a small sound that is not quite a word, but means, I'm with you. When you stop, she already knows where to place the first stitch of comfort. She befriends the town as if it were a person. She learns which sidewalk crack is actually a tiny stage. She says hello to the post office like it is shy. She wraps the library in a hug at least once a week with permission. Mabel solves things sideways. Where Dipper builds a ladder of logic, Mabel throws a ribbon over the branch and swings. Her answers look like laughter at first. Then they settle into solutions that make the room brighter. She trusts first and edits later. Not foolishly, faithfully. Her trust is a gift wrapped in boundaries, stitched one bright square at a time. She knows how to say no and still make you feel welcome on the porch of yes. When fear leans in, Mabel leans back and widens the space. She invites joy to sit between the two of them. Fear has a hard time staying grumpy when joy starts telling stories about the time the town baked a cake for no reason, and everyone was somehow better at math the next day. Mabel's crafting is not a hobby. It is language. A bracelet says, I see you. A sweater says, you can rest here. A banner says, we made it to today, and that is enough. She makes friends with people, and also with moments. She remembers exactly when the light through the shack window looks like a gold curtain. She knows which stump in the forest is the best for telling secrets you want the moss to keep. She can find in 3 steps the spot on the hill where hugs feel bigger. When someone is quiet too long, Mabel gently taps the quiet and sees what it wants. Sometimes it wants to be quiet longer. She nods. Sometimes it wants a joke that is as soft as a feather and lands without a thump. She has a dozen ready. None are mean. Mabel is not naive. She knows about hurt. She just refuses to let it get the top bunk every night. She tucks fear in, reads it one page of a story about brave raccoons, and then goes downstairs to make cocoa for everyone else. Her bravery looks like stepping forward when the air is unsure. It looks like taking a friend's hand without comment and holding it until the world finds its balance again. It looks like saying, I believe in you, in a tone that makes the sentence true. There is a morning when Mabel ties a string of paper stars from the shack's porch to the first tree on the path. She says it is a measuring line for hope. If it sags, we pull together. If it lifts, we cheer together. People laugh. Then they look at the stars at dusk and feel steadier without quite knowing why. Mabel keeps a book too, but it is not like the journals. It is a scrapbook of now, Polaroids, ticket stubs, doodles of friends as vegetables accompanied by small captions like, Carrot Wendy would definitely win in a race. Between the pictures are blank pages left on purpose for later joy to land. She has a rule no one else thought to write down. If there is a party hat in the drawer, there is a reason to wear it. The reason might be You remember to drink water. The reason might be Tuesday. The reason might be because we can. Mabel teaches the town to say we when it forgets and says I too often. She teaches problems to introduce themselves politely. She teaches shadows to be better at the part where they frame the light. On the days when the mystery feels heavy, Mabel puts it in a wagon and shares the handle. She adds a bow to the wagon because it makes the job easier. It does. Beauty is not extra here. Beauty is a tool. If you ask the pines outside the shack what Mabel gave them, they would say, laughter that keeps the sap moving, a color we didn't know we could wear, a memory of a girl who hugged a branch and said, thank you. When summer tilts toward leaving, Mabel writes notes and hides them in kind places, under a cushion that supports a tired back, in a book that nobody checks out but everyone dusts carefully, between the pages of a friend's day that felt too long. Each note says in different words, you are loved, take your time, we are okay. She goes when it is time to go. She does not pretend she wants to. She also does not make sad bigger than it needs to be. She waves as if waving could be stored for later. It can. And when she returns, because of course she will, the town brightens one shade and the radio's evening voice smiles without saying why. Breathe in. Breathe out. The room is quiet. The town is gentle. The forest is kind. The shack keeps its small lamp on. Close your eyes if you wish. Chapters wait without tapping their feet. When you are ready, we will visit friends and neighbors, puzzles and promises, storms told softly, and the long good night that follows. For now, let the story hold still while you drift. Gravity Falls is here. It will be here when you wake. The town is a chorus. Different voices. One song. In Gravity Falls, the song is neighbor-shaped. It rises when a door opens for someone carrying too many things. It falls to a hush when a story needs room to land. It keeps time with a broom against a porch with a kettle finding its tune, with shoes pausing at the curb for the second twilight. Start with the man who can fix almost anything if you let him try and feed him a good story while he works. He laughs with his whole chest. He mends with patience. He believes in machines and people the same way. Turn the right screw, add kindness, listen for the click. He calls the shack home the way a lighthouse calls ships home. Steady, unworried, always lit. There is a teenager who leans on a counter like it's a railing of a very slow ship. She knows every shortcut through the woods and through a bad day. She hands out truth like a folded flannel. Worn, warm, exactly your size. She can read a storm from the smell of the air and a friend from the sound of their footsteps. At the diner, a woman spins plates and chances with equal grace. Her pies cool on the window like moons practicing phases. If you sit alone too long, she sends a slice with the sentence, "It looked at you." The bill arrives with a doodle of the sun and a reminder to drink water. Two officers patrol like parentheses around the town's sillier moments. Their radios crackle with nothing urgent. They speak in a shorthand that is half inside joke, half care. If a parade appears with no explanation, they will find the extra rope, keep the line straight, and clap the loudest. In a big house that once only echoed, a girl learns to trade her shield for a smile. She thought perfection was a room with one chair, and she had to sit up straight in it forever. Now she's collecting mismatched stools and messy victories. She practices thank you the way one practices an instrument. Soft, then sure, then joyful. A man with a beard like a weather map mutters to himself as he walks the riverbank. He knows every bolt on every bridge and all the names of the frogs. On good days, he sings a song only the water understands. On brave days, he comes into town and sits by the radio, nodding at the music like it's a friend he trusted once and trusts again. There are friends of friends with voices that ring like bells made of candy. They form alliances over crafts, snacks, and the very serious business of being silly. They defend what matters with the ferocity of sunshine. They celebrate small wins with confetti that somehow never needs sweeping. A pig waddles into this chapter because he insists. He reminds everyone that love can be round, pink, and possessed of a very particular opinion about apples. He naps in beams of light like a biography of comfort. Shopkeepers. Mechanics. A librarian who can recommend a book the way a river recommends a path. A school teacher who says, "Try it, and if it breaks, we'll learn how to fix it." A mail carrier who knows when to knock and when to simply let the envelope rest. Festivals stitch the town together with banners and borrowed extension cords. Someone hangs lanterns. Someone tunes a guitar. Someone brings lemonade that tastes like a solved puzzle. Children chalk the sidewalk with maps of make-believe that look suspiciously like real directions. When something goes missing, the town finds it. When someone goes missing, the town waits on porches. When news arrives, good or hard, the town divides it into pieces that fit into hands. On certain evenings, the radio reads the community board in a voice warm enough to be a blanket. Potluck on Thursday. Bring your favorite spoon. If you found a blue scarf with little stars, it misses its friend. New cactus at the hardware store has a name. Respect the cactus's choices. If you need to cry, there is a bench near the bakery that pretends it is just for tying shoes. If you need to laugh, there is a corner by the post office where the pigeons behave like comedians. If you need quiet, there's the library's back table where the sun puddles and nobody asks you to move. The townsfolk do not stop the mysteries. They give them context. They hold the edges of the page while the middle is written. They build the kind of ordinary that courage can stand on without wobbling. Breathe in. Breathe out. The chorus soften. A single note rises now, strange, angular, twinkling like glass. We will meet it kindly and keep the lights low. Some ideas arrive as triangles. They point. They gleam. They ask questions with a grin too wide for a quiet room. Imagine a dream that learned to draw straight lines. Imagine a riddle that dressed up as a star. Imagine curiosity without a bedtime, clever and restless. This is how we will speak of the trickster, as a puzzle with manners we must teach. We keep fear outside on the porch with a blanket and tea. Inside we set boundaries like furniture, soft edges, sturdy legs, nothing sharp. The triangle taps the window. We do not open it yet. We wave. We write a note on the glass with our breath. We see you. The triangle draws an eye. We draw one back. Now we are even. A presence like this loves bargains. We love clarity. It loves fireworks. We love lanterns. It loves shortcuts. We love maps with all the roads, even the slow ones. If a voice in a dream promises you everything, set a chair for the word enough. Let enough sit between you and the deal. Enough knows how to read fine print. Enough asks, will this still be kind in the morning? Tricksters test doors. It is their nature. We test locks, not to trap, but to learn which doors should stay closed until the room is ready. We post signs. Please knock. We are napping. We install welcome mats that only say, "Welcome when the feet are gentle." Triangles love riddles. So do we. But our riddles end in laughter and friendship, not in empty rooms. Our secrets are puzzles that teach us how to be softer with each other, not sharper. The dream trickster offers power that sprints. We prefer power that walks with us and carries a basket. It offers knowledge that leaps. We choose knowledge that sits, listens, and takes notes. Oh, if you find yourself in a bargain you don't like, remember, no is a complete sentence. Remember, waking up is an option. Remember, other people are the best spell. Say their names like a rope you pull hand over hand back to shore. We tame wild ideas the way one tames a kite, by giving them a string, not a cage. We anchor the string to friendship, to patience, to the very unglamorous heroism of eating lunch and taking a walk and sleeping 8 hours. The triangle can be dazzling. So can we. Our dazzle is made of small, consistent lights. Porch lamps. Reading lamps. The glow from the fridge when you choose fruit at midnight, and the future nods, approving. There will always be voices that try to turn the world into a game with only one winner. In Gravity Falls, the rules are different. Win means everyone gets home with a story and a snack. If a sharp idea visits again, we will be ready with rounded words. If a dream tries to draw ink over our maps, we will redraw them together in pencil, erasers handy, tea warm. The trickster will not like this ending. That is all right. We prefer endings that make good beginnings. Breathe in. Breathe out. We'll play a quieter game now. Letters, symbols, gentle ciphers that open like flowers. Playful, not scary. Some towns hide. Gravity Falls plays peekaboo. Codes here are not walls. They are winks. They say, "Look closer, friend." They say, "I left you a trail of breadcrumbs, gluten-free if you need." Start with letters that wear different hats. A becomes D if you shift 3 seats down the row. H turns backward to see who's following. Z loops around to the front, like a child who can't wait their turn. There are wheels with alphabets around their edges, spinning like lazy planets. Set a key word, apple, pines, home, and suddenly the world clicks into alignment. A sentence appears where there was only static. It says something sweet. Meet me by the library window at second twilight. Bring a story. There are acrostics that spell thank you down the left side of a page while the rest of the paragraph talks about weather. There are drop caps that are larger not to shout, but to bow. There are margins with tiny arrows. Notice this. Take a breath here. Drink water now. Sometimes the code is sound. A radio show where every 7th word is a nudge in a new direction. A whistle bird that counts in 5s to hint which shelf the book is on. A kettle that sings the note you need to hum to unlock your best idea. Sometimes the code is color. Blue fog means bake. Gold light means right. Green moss means rest your back against the tree and remember a name you almost misplaced. There are maps with X's that mark nothing but good places to sit. There are journals with pages that only reveal the second paragraph if you read it with your head tilted slightly and your heart open very wide. Secret handshakes exist, but they are simple, palm to palm. We're in this together. No elaborate tricks. We save those for the cookies we bake after. And there are the little whispers, backwards notes that become forwards kindness, strings of numbers that hide the date of your best day last year, symbols sketched into the dust on a windowsill that mean, remember to call your friend. Ciphers in Gravity Falls reward patience more than brilliance. You do not need to be the fastest solver. You only need to enjoy the feeling of a lock turning where no lock should be. Children are fluent. They trade riddles like baseball cards. They chalk clues on the sidewalk that wash away in rain, and that is part of the joy. Some secrets are for today only. Grown-ups keep their own codes. A spare key taped under a flower pot with a crack shaped like a smile. A porch light that blinks twice when the soup is ready for anyone passing by who forgot dinner. A garden gnome turned slightly left means please help yourself to herbs and leave a note with your favorite recipe. The best secrets are the kind you share with the person in the mirror. Notes you write to your future self. You did your best. Take the long way home. Wear the sweater. And when the town faces a puzzle too big for any single pocket, the codes knit together. A radio hint. A library margin. A chalk arrow. A pie on a sill that signals go this way. By the time you reach the center, there is a table, chairs, and friends, and the solution turns out to be each other. Breathe in. Breathe out. We are ready for the big story told softly. A storm came once. We will retell it as a lullaby of repair. One day the sky forgot its manners. Colors arrived out of order. Corners appeared where curves used to be. Time hiccuped. We call it a storm because that is the most human word for a world trying on a louder outfit. But even storms have hearts that can hear a quiet song. The first thing the town did was hold hands, some literally, some by radio, some by the steady glance over a counter that says, I see you, I am not going anywhere. The second thing it did was breathe. In together, out together. Buildings remember that rhythm. So do trees. Strangeness likes to scatter. People like to gather. Gravity Falls gathered. Plans were made on napkins, on chalkboards, on the back of a pie box. Not heroic speeches. Lists. Call so-and-so. Check the bridge. Count the lanterns. Make more soup. In the shack. In the forest, in the library's quiet spine, small teams formed like constellations, dots connected by trust. Everyone brought what they had. A map, a sweater, a joke, a screwdriver, an apology, a promise. The triangle's game wanted winners and losers. The town's game wanted neighbors. We chose the second every time we remembered how. There were hard moments. There always are. Rooms where the air argued. Minutes that stretched like unchewed taffy. But when the music got too loud, someone found the dial. When the hallway bent wrong, someone held the wall and whispered, We are not lost. We are learning. We do not need to recount every twist to honor the truth. It was wild, and it passed. We fell and stood back up. We cried and then laughed. We looked at each other with new eyes that could see the bravery in the ordinary. The mending began before the storm was even done. A hand on a shoulder. A board nailed straight. A story told 3 times so it would stop running and sit. At the diner, a sign appeared. First cup free for everyone who needs today to be normal. By noon, every cup was the first cup. Sometimes repair is wood and nails. Sometimes it is forgiveness, that quiet carpenter. 2 brothers found a way to stand shoulder to shoulder again, measuring twice, cutting once, choosing the same straight line and owning the same small mistakes. A girl who thought a perfect mask was her only face took it off and kept breathing. A man at the riverbank stopped muttering long enough to laugh, and the laugh was a bridge built in a single sound. When the sky remembered itself, it did not snap back. It softened back, the way a knotted rope softens when soaked and worked by careful hands. Colors return to their shelves. The corners learn to be gentle. Time sighed and sat in its usual chair, a little embarrassed, a lot relieved. After, the town did not throw a parade. It threw a picnic. Potato salad tastes like victory if you eat it on the grass with people who stayed. Children ran in circles that looked like the outlines of new stories. Someone strummed. Someone snoozed. Someone cried quietly on a bench and was not alone. The journals added pages titled Things We Know Now. We Can Be Brave Together. Laughter is a tool. Lanterns work better in groups. The map of home is drawn in pencil, and we can keep redrawing it. There were repairs you could see, and repairs you could only feel. A creak in the shack's stair turned from complaint to character. The post office returned the last letter that had gotten lost with a stamped note. Found by a friend. The forest's hum deepened, like a cat settling. As seasons slid over the town like fresh sheets, the storm became a chapter, not the book. People told it the way one tells a family tale to remind the new kids where we come from and how we behave when the wind blows weird. We gather. We share. We listen for the small, true thing inside the big, loud thing, and we choose it. If you stand on the hill at evening now, you will see lights like constellations that learn to live on Earth. Each window is a star. Each porch is a planet. The town turns at a kind speed. The sky approves. Breathe in. Breathe out. Lay the chapter down like a tool at the end of good work. There are more pages. We will walk them slowly. Departures and returns, a sea voyage or two, a lantern left on. But for now, rest. The valley keeps watch. The falls murmur the same patient syllables they have always known. And the night, practiced and generous, tucks us in. Some goodbyes are loud, full of confetti and trumpets. Gravity Falls prefers the kind that sound like a screen door easing shut on a late afternoon. Graceful, patient, and sure that you'll be back. The last morning of summer wakes up slowly like a cat stretching in a square of sun on the attic floor. In the mystery shack, the light sifts through old glass and lands in honey-colored lozenges across the boards. Upstairs, 2 beds are made, but not too perfectly. Creases still remember the shapes of laughter. A sweater is folded with care. A notebook is closed, not to end anything, but to let what was written sink in like rain. Dipper stands by the window and watches the tops of the pines move in a language he's learned to read. Today will be gentle. Today will be enough. Today will be a day for carrying things carefully. Mabel ties a ribbon, the way one ties a bow on a gift you plan to open again later. She checks the room for stray buttons, wayward stickers, and any sadness that forgot its jacket. She finds a tiny glitter star under the bed and presses it to the window frame. If you miss us, she tells the shack, make a wish. Downstairs, the bell above the front door rings with a little smile in it. Suze is already sweeping, which is to say he's drawing lines on the floor that mean we did it. He's humming the song a building makes when it feels useful. On the counter sits a brown paper bag labeled Road Snacks in sharp marker letters, and underneath, in smaller writing, for heroes. Today, that's you. Wendy leans on the doorframe like she always does, but there's an extra softness at the corners of her eyes. She gives Dipper a nod that contains 1,000 sentences. Proud of you. Text me when you get where you're going. You're braver than you think. Don't forget to look up. Then she hands him a folded flannel. For the bus AC, she says. Or for thinking. Pacifica stops by in a carefully casual way, And then, abandoning the script she didn't need, says thank you the way one says it when the word finally fits. Her goodbye is a small gift bag with tissue paper, the color of a ripe pear. Inside is a keychain shaped like a lantern. It's not fancy, she says, which in her old language meant it matters. In her new language, it still does. Old Man McGucket ambles in with a blueprint rolled under his arm. It is a very detailed drawing of a hug machine that, if one could get the sprockets just so, would deliver the exact right squeeze any time the owner required. Prototype's in my head, he says. It works great. Bring it with you. They do, which is to say, they carry the feeling with them. The diner sends over 2 slices of last day pie in recycled cardboard and a napkin that reads, "You've got this. Hydrate." The post office hands Mabel a bundle of letters addressed to whoever needs a smile on the 3rd Wednesday of next month. To someone who thinks they can't do it. You can. To the one wearing a sweater with stars. Mail them to yourself, the clerk whispers, as if sharing a very old magic. It's called Scheduled Hope. At the library, the head librarian stamps an invisible mark inside both kids' hands. It's the return when ready stamp, she says. It only shows up at night when you are thinking about us. Side effect, you will sleep better. Around noon, second twilight arrives early as a favor. The sky turns the color of a blueberry promise. The town slows one notch, like a record player easing to the sweetest speed. The forest sends an envoy, a breeze that smells like cedar and something kind. On a stump by the path, someone has left a simple bracelet made of twine and 3 beads, green, gold, green. Dipper knows it's a code. Mabel knows it's a hug. They are both right. Back at the shack, the last box is taped shut. It holds very little. Most important things won't fit in cardboard. Stan appears in the doorway, doing that thing with his hat that means he's feeling more than he intends to show. "Keep your noses clean," he says, which is his way of saying I'm proud. Ford stands beside him like a lighthouse, steady, a little weathered, bright in the ways that jam matter. He presses a small, careful envelope into Dipper's hand, a star chart with a route drawn to home, various definitions. "Call if the constellations get fussy," he says. They will, he will. They step onto the porch. The boards greet them by name. The steps remember how to hold goodbye without splinters. The bus arrives with a sigh that sounds oddly like relief. Buses love a fulfilled purpose. Mabel waves as if waving could be stored like electricity. It can. Dipper breathes in, breathes out, and rests a hand on the backpack that is lighter than it used to be, mostly because worry has been replaced by knowing. As the bus pulls away, the town performs its soft ritual. The radio plays a song that feels like a porch light. The bakery flips its sign to back in 10, and the baker stands out front to wave. The forest lifts its voice one note, the kind that curls behind the heart and says, "Safe travels, kid." The road unwinds. Fields nod. A fence line counts to a number only fences know. In the back window, Gravity Falls shrinks to a pocket-sized secret that isn't secret at all. It is love with a map. On the seat, Mabel takes out a page labeled Today's Good List. She writes, "We said goodbye without breaking. We said thank you out loud. We left a lantern on." Dipper opens the envelope again and traces the line to home. It goes everywhere. He smiles, which in his language means yes. Breathe in. Breathe out. The bus hums. The world holds. Evening falls in 2 places at once, on the road and on the town they're leaving, like a blanket tucked at both ends. After a season of fireworks, Quiet arrives like dew. Gravity falls wears it well. The day after the bus, the Mystery Shack wakes at its usual hour and stretches its timbers, pleased to discover it still has a job. Be a place where wonder clocks in on time. Suze flips the sign to open, and also because no one is there to stop him. To welcome back, even though everybody who walks in is technically arriving for the first time today. Wendy runs a hand along the counter, and the counter behaves. The jackalope nods in cabinet glass reflection. The register pings in a key that sounds like "let's." Repair day slides onto the calendar with its polite handwriting. It's not a holiday, though people bring cake. It's a day where the town fixes what's loose, hinges plans the way a neighbor waves, and puts a little extra oil on kindness. Somebody paints the bench near the bakery. Somebody else leaves a note that says, "Sit here if you need to cry, it's allowed." By noon, 3 people have sat, cried, and laughed in that order. By 5, the paint is dry and the bench has opinions about clouds. The library hosts a weekly hour of soft adventures, where the only requirement is that all dragons be friendly and all challenges solvable with snacks or listening. Kids read to plants. Plants grow. A fern in the corner earns its reader's badge by leaning toward the vowels. At the radio station, the evening DJ adds a new feature called Found Things. Listeners call in to describe something they found, buttons, a sentence, courage, and the town practices saying, "If that's yours, come get it," to anyone who needs to hear it. Sometimes the thing is a person. They come home. The post office continues its experiment with addresses that are instructions. To whoever is sitting near the window wishing for rain. To the table that has seen 3 generations of pancakes. To the "I'll do it tomorrow" voice, this is tomorrow. Some letters take the long way, on purpose. All of them arrive. In the big house on the hill, perfection loses ground to good. A girl, no longer armoring herself in should, learns the power of with help. Her kitchen sees its first flour mess. Her dining room hosts a game night, where someone spills orange soda and the rug forgives them instantly. Laughter moves in like a tenant who pays in plants. Down at the riverbank, a man with a blueprint brain and a heart like a shed full of spare parts invents a new kind of bridge. A conversation you can walk across at sunset while not agreeing about everything and still liking each other when you reach the other side. He patents it under the name Porch. The forest keeps its promises. Paths appear when needed, vanish when rest is smarter. Gnomes organize their committees, which consist mainly of snacks. A great, kind presence hums on cool evenings, smoothing out the day's wrinkled minutes. Seasons roll the town forward on a gentle rail. Autumn arrives with pockets full of gold. Leaves practice the art of leaving without drama. The diner adds pies that taste like memory. Children in new sweaters learn the ancient rule. If you collect 5 perfect acorns, the 6th one is for wishing. No one knows why. No one needs to. Winter teaches small flames to be brave. Porch lights expand their patrols. The shack stocks mittens in the lost and found box and pretends not to notice when the mittens all get lost again in the direction of cold hands. The town soundscape switches to the quiet crunch of boots and the soft negotiations of soup. Spring writes green where the snow erased. The post office displays a bouquet labeled, "Congratulations on getting through it." The library's windows unstick themselves with a proud little pop. The falls grow chatty. Summer returns with its loose schedule and open windows. Kids play kick the can with the evening. Adults sit on steps with tall glasses of gratitude.
The town hums, a hive where the honey is stories. And beyond the trees, the sea does what seas do, holds horizons steady so boats have something to aim at.
On that sea, two brothers work out a language no dictionary holds. They mend nets and history, sometimes in the same hour. Evening finds them on the deck, one with a mug, one with a notebook, both with that look of men who chose to keep choosing. They send postcards home with dates and coordinates, but also with the important data. Water calm. Stars bossy. Saw a whale today that felt like a blessing you could hear. Every few weeks, a box arrives at the shack from some port you have to look up on a map. Inside, a rock that hums faintly when you set it on the counter, a book with 3 sentences underlined twice, a tiny brass compass that always points to the sound of laughter. With each delivery, the shack stands a little taller, the way buildings do when they know their people are all right. So's runs the place like a caretaker of warm chances. He invents exhibits with titles like the Museum of Lost and Found Things and the Hall of Okay. We don't understand it either, but look how cool. He knows which light bulbs to replace and which ones to keep because the flicker is charming. He leaves a stool free behind the counter for anyone who needs to sit, and remember that they are more than their to-do list. Wendy grows into the future the way pines grow into the sky, with ease and without hurry. She teaches younger kids how to tie knots that hold, and how to tell stories that do the same. Sometimes she sits on the shack roof and keeps time with the town, her boots tapping the exact heartbeat of here. Pacifica expands the community calendar because community is her new favorite word. She helps rebuild what needs rebuilding and then builds things that need to exist just because Joy asked nicely. Her house is loud now, and the echoes are finally happy that they have company. The town learns new codes, or perhaps remembers old ones it once knew. A blue ribbon tied around a lamppost means welcome home to anybody who needs it. A chalk spiral on the sidewalk outside the library means follow me and leads to a basket of free notebooks. A pair of boots left neatly beside the bench by the bakery means I'm inside signing a card for someone. Join me. Every so often, on very clear nights, a sharp idea passes over the valley looking for bargains. It finds boundaries instead. It finds lamps in windows and names spoken out loud and a town that votes yes on kindness at every meeting. It moves on, confused in the best possible way. Dipper and Mabel write. Their letters are full of little things. The best ones always are. We found a soda machine that still uses glass bottles. We taught a raccoon to high-five, probably a mistake. We missed you at breakfast and saved you the seat anyway. P.S. Does the bench by the bakery still squeak on the third slat? The bench squeaks exactly where it should. The town writes back, yes, come test it. In the library, a new shelf appears over the winter labeled Local Lore Living. It has journals people choose to share, recipes, maps to good sunsets, lists of what to do when you can't sleep. Stand on the porch, count the friendly lights, try again. A child adds a book called The Very Official Guide to Secret Shortcuts. On the last page in crayon, be nice to the shortcuts and they will be nice back. Life after mystery isn't life after wonder. It's wonder with better shoes. It's ordinary days that know how to hold a lot. It's a town exhaling and discovering the breath goes farther now. Nothing spectacular happens for a little while. That's the spectacle. Breathe in. Breathe out. We've walked the long path together. Founding, family, journals, rooms and roads and riddles, storms and tea after. There's one small room left. The kind you enter by closing your eyes. Set your load down. Let your shoulders fall to where they've wanted to be all day. The night has you. Somewhere in Gravity Falls, a porch light glows the color of warm bread. It glows for late walkers, for neighbors with news, for moths that believe in second chances. It glows for you. The town is quiet but not empty. Quiet like a book closed around a pressed flower. Quiet like a lake memorizing the sky. Quiet like a hug you didn't know you needed and now don't want to let go. If you take the path in your mind, Main Street past the diner's sleeping windows, past the post office where tomorrow's letters wait like gentle birds, past the library whose shelves breathe in a rhythm only the moon can hear, you'll eventually find yourself on the shack's steps. They do not creak tonight, they sigh. The door is locked, the way a good dream is locked. Only to strangers, never to friends. Inside the exhibits rest. The jackalope closes its glass eyes. Yes, it can. The register sits with a little half-smile like a storyteller between chapters. Downstairs, the careful room hums, a lullaby for puzzles. Tools line up to sleep. A marble stops near the edge and decides to be brave about it. Upstairs, the attic remembers. Beds hold their shapes. A sweater on a chair warms no one and still warms the room. The window reflects starlight and the faintest hint of a glitter star at the frame. It's brighter at night, as promised. Across town, other windows glow. The diner's back light, where dough rises like a sun in a bowl. The radio's lamp, where a sleepy voice signs off with, "Good night, wherever you are, especially here." The library's desk lamp, forgotten on and forgiven by everyone. The bench near the bakery, lamppost beside it, wrapped in a blue ribbon that flutters in a wind nobody else noticed. The forest, too, keeps watch. Pines lean in like old friends at a secret. A stream invents a song you'll never quite remember but will always be comforted by. Somewhere a large, kind shape moves once, finds everything in order, and settles. Down the road and over the horizon, a boat writes small letters across a dark sea. Two brothers look up and say the same star's name at the same time and decide that counts as a victory. They turn in, content to let the waves rock old griefs into sleep. And you, wherever you are, can let this town be a blanket. Let the map of it lay over you, street by street, tree by tree, window by window. Let the second twilight that always arrives in Gravity Falls arrive here too. The pause between in-breath and out-breath where the world remembers itself. There are a few things we learned, and they are yours to keep. Attention is a kind of love. Maps are promises. Codes are invitations. Repair is a team sport. Lanterns work better together. Goodbyes are just folded hellos. If you wake in the night, do not be alarmed. Some stories ask to be turned like pillows, one side cool, one side warm. Walk Main Street again in your mind. Count the lights. Name the friends. Listen for the falls. They murmur the same syllables they always have, the ones every river teaches to the shore. I'm here, I'm here, I'm here. Breathe in, hold, breathe out. Let the last page close without a thud. Let the room be dark in the right ways. The lantern stays on, somewhere between the trees, behind the counter in the attic window for as long as you need it. Sleep now. Tomorrow, Gravity Falls will still be here. So will you. And that is enough.